It's a really, really nice thing to see us together, whatever colour, race or creed, just to see people together and being part of a community of whatever we think is really special. So well done, guys, the team behind this, and well done to all the people that stood up and shared their creativeness. So yeah, thank you. So I'm standing up in spirit.
Oh, well done. Yeah, should I start? Hi. This is working because I couldn't hear clearly. I could actually. Oh, God, it's working. I love my mic. Welcome everybody. Most of you. It's so weird. When you stand here, you can't see your faces. Now I know why people can really perform forever. I've got some questions that I'm going to throw at you lot today, okay? And it's thought-provoking, and I need you lot to really be honest when I ask these questions. And, you know, give me your answers, okay? And don't hide. And there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, okay? Now the first question, this is here. How can we grow harmoniously by mastering the art of giving and receiving? So how can we grow together? How can we grow together harmoniously? Am I pronouncing that word correctly? Yeah. In the art of giving, and giving by here's some water, oh, here's my time, well, let me help you with your shopping bag, and then learn to take. How do we do that? How do we take? How? What did I do today before coming here? I'll tell you what I'm doing, giving. I give away 2 hours of my time on a Friday. I do a sewing session. So I was given a hall to use for free. So I thought, I'll have it. What can I do in there? You know what? I like sewing. I like making stuff. People like sewing. 2 hours. I'm going to get some sewing machines. They all belong to me. Threads, needles, they all belong to me. And I set up every Friday afternoon for 2 hours, and I give away my time to let people come in there. And I take my time and I teach people how to put things together or how to mend stuff. Today I spent 1 hour showing someone how to thread a sewing machine. And I'll tell you what, it was the most exciting thing when I watched her face light up. She was like, so excited. So that's what I do. That's me giving something to everybody. And then how do I take back? I'm not very good at when people say, oh, you look nice, or thank you. I don't know how to accept it. I've not learned because I'm so used to giving. So how do we do it? Somebody else give me an answer.
Just on that, I think I will say, because when I was in Mexico, I met these Americans, and it will never, it will always stay with me how, the mic. The mic. Oh gosh. Please, I always catch myself at the mic, I'm like, is that me? So when I was in Mexico, met these Americans, and I remember the girl telling me about this specific thing, especially in the UK. I feel like we're very self-deprecating, I think is the word that we tone it down. Someone tells you, oh, I love your outfit. Oh no, this thing, it's old, or I like your nails. Oh no, they're chipped. And I remember she was just like, you just say thank you. You just say thank you. She's like, no explanation. You don't need to be like, oh, I bought it from this place. But thank you, I really appreciate that, thank you. And I was like, that has always stayed with me about, because I feel like that helps you grow as a person as well, because you're, like you said, you're taking in, you're receiving, and it will start building on your confidence, and you'll be able to do it more and more. So.
Does anyone agree with that? Yeah. I think that's so true. I have a lady at the back.
I'm just going to add a quick thing to, I don't even need the mic, but okay. So I think adding on to both of those things, I think the word that popped into my head was acceptance. And when you say grow plants and flowers in a garden, so instead of treating it as a weed or something, I don't want you, I'm not accepting you here. That acceptance of you can be here, that's fine. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And we can share our resources and stuff like that. So acceptance.
Yeah. Have that in us, do we? Anybody else like to add to that?
I will add something. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can anyone hear him?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel empathy is missing at the moment in the age that we're living in. There's a lot of emptiness rather than empathy. So the easiest way to do this. I was walking down the street the other day, and I saw an old lady sitting down. All she was asking was for a cup of tea. For a cup of tea. And it's just stopping and listening to the person that's asking for handout or help, whatever it might be. But just listening, stopping and listening, without really judging. That's all this. Without judging. So all I did was went and bought some tea. It was cold. Gave it to her. She said, "Thank you." I felt so good afterwards. But I think it gives you something throughout the day. So empathy. That's what I would say.
Oh. Another thing that I did today, I saw this lady come up with her shopping bags. You know, as women, we always go shopping to buy one item and leave the shop with lots of stuff. Yeah. And honestly, she was struggling, and I thought, I've got to get to this venue, I'm running late. And I thought, you know what, no, you're not running late. Go and help the woman. So I turned around, went back. You know, I said, "Can I help you?" She looked at me. I thought, "I'm not going to steal your shopping bag, okay? I just want to help you." She went, "Okay." And I walked all the way to her house, and we talked about everything. About our, you know, men in our lives not being that great. Her kids have left home, she's got no help. But it was a 5-minute walk. But the conversation was so nice, and I took her to her doorstep, and then she gave me a hug and said, "Thank you so much." Now, you know, now I have a friend in the avenues, but it just meant me stopping and looking and seeing she needs help. Do I walk away or do I stop to help her? It did, and it felt so good. It threw her a little bit because she just thought, someone's helping with my shopping, and it brought a smile onto her face. And that to me has the domino effect. So if you show kindness to one person, it passes on. And if we all can keep doing that, honestly, we will change how people think and feel. But it takes one person to make that change, and that change comes from each one of us. Okay? And on that note, I'm going to introduce. Oh, there's somebody in the corner. Where?
Hello.
Babes, I didn't see you. I'm so sorry.
No worries, no worries.
Is it on?
Temperamental life.
You can use mine.
Sorry now. Yeah, I think in this day and age, I think most of the things that we do is on autopilot, and we forget to have that mindfulness. We do give and we do receive, but in order to make it more meaningful and effective, we really need to be we need to build that mindfulness, and we need to be conscious.
Of when we're giving.
Giving and receiving
And
as well,
receiving.
so we shouldn't forget to
So
receive.
that means slowing ourselves down a little bit.
And to be mindful, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else before I introduce the person? I have somebody else. Oh, this is so good. Guys, come in and take the chair. Sit. Do you know what they do? I went to Madrid. And when you get on the train, and you've got all your bags, and rather than struggle, you know what they do? They take your bags and they put it on their laps. And sometimes they even say, "Come sit on my lap." No. They do. I was like, wow. You know, if you go and sit on someone's lap in London, they'll tell you to come off. Yeah, but they did. I was so shocked. Yeah. I said, "Come on, let me sit on the chair." Has anybody else got an answer?
I want to also ask you a question. Why are you giving? How does it make you feel when you're giving something?
How does it make me feel? I feel so good when I give. Yeah, I do. I like, you know, when I wake up in the morning, it's like, ta-da! And the kids would say, "What's wrong with you?" And I say, "Nothing." And when they were little, I'd say, what did I used to say, Shanti?
Rice and shine, chicken and rice.
Rice and shine, chicken and rice! That's not funny. It's not chicken and rice, it doesn't even rhyme.
I think it's also giving is also receiving because you got the happiness, you got the gratefulness. So I think that's why we keep, you know.
Is it on? Is it on?
I think
It's gone on?
yeah.
Oh, thank you, Doc. But I like when people smile. Now I make a conscious effort when I'm walking down the road not to have a serious face. Sometimes I might be thinking, don't get me wrong, and my face might crease up. But with yoga, my teacher says, you know, lift up one side of your cheek and then lift up the other side. And it turns into a smile. And if you're smiling outwardly, babe, you feel so good, you know, your balance is even better. But if you're kind of, so you walk with a smile, it makes you feel so good inside. You know, The only person who's going to bring joy into your life is only you. Nobody else can give it to you. You know, not the shops, not the Gucci bag, not the watch. Just in here. Okay? I can start to introduce my next guest now. How do I know Julie? Julie. How did I meet Julie? Because I used to work in early years, okay? Julie was my teacher, my mentor, my master, taught me how to talk to children properly, you know, guided me. And I owe everything to Julie, okay? And I just thought, we need an icebreaker, because does anyone know my name? Pepe! I don't even know your name. And this lovely lady used to teach, you know, taught us this song that we used to sing in our little group. So be like, I'll start it. Or Julie can start it. Tell me what your name is. I keep forgetting to say it. So I'll say, tell me. So I'll say, so we say, tell me what your name is. I'd really like to know. Your name is Julie. Hello, hello, hello. And that's how the song goes. So when I point to you, you've got to say, my name is, okay? So if I say, my name is Peppy, hello, 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 and I'll say to you, tell me what your name is, I'd really like to know. Your name is?
Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. And everyone says hello, and tell me what your name is, I'd really like to know. Your name is?
Cheyenne.
Hello, hello, hello. And if you tell me what your name is, I'd really like to know. Your name is? Sarah. Hello, hello, hello. And if you tell me what your name is, I'd really like to know. Your name is? Hello, hello, hello. You tell me what your name is, I'd really like to know. Your name is? Hello, hello, hello. And you tell me what your name is, I'd really like to know. Your name is? Zoe. Hello, hello, hello. I learned that song from this lovely lady, and it's a good icebreaker.
Amazing.
Honestly, it's wonderful. It gets everybody talking and singing, and I was like, can't sing, we're going, my name is Pepe. Hello, hey, Pepe. And when we do it with the children, they love it, because they wait for their name and they...
Yeah.
I love this pussy.
Sometimes.
Oh, beautiful. Honestly, and I can relate to everything that you know, the first one about the kiss, the second one about your baby, and then your baby father. Yes, I got married to my baby father, okay? Did it work? As well, we have to work really hard to keep the relationship going.
Yeah.
So I can connect with everything you said. And yes, I go to the cemetery because my mum is there. And whenever I'm really stuck and I don't know what to do, I go there and I give it a good clean and I say, Mummy, please come up and help me because I'm struggling, I don't know what to do. And I stay and I go home. And I tell you what, I don't know how or what it is, but somehow she just fixes everything for me. So for me, it's my place, my home. Whenever I want to find myself. I've got another question for you, ladies and gentlemen. It says here, how important is representation to you all? How important is representation to you? And is there a negative aspect to it? And if so, how do we navigate ourselves through it? Shall we do it again? Shall we do it again?
Yes, please.
How important is representation to you in your life today as we're living? And is there a negative aspect to it? Do you see something negative in the way life is represented to you? And if so, how the hell do you navigate yourself through it? Does that question make sense for you? Hi! I can see you there. Hi! What's your name?
Ope.
Oh, very nice to meet you. Hello, hello, hello. Oh my gosh, hi! Tell me what your name is. Hello, hello, hello. Oh my gosh, hi! Tell me what's your name. I'm great. Quato. Hello, hello, hello.
I'll say that it does matter, but as for the negative side of it, it just kind of dangerous to get to a point where it's just being done because you just want to, in a way, force it, you know? Like, for example, with movies now, a lot of people are underrepresented in movies, so now it's like everything has to be that just to please you. So it's like, all right, sure. And it becomes that thing. So it's not a film, it's a black film. And it's like, why does it need to be sectioned off like that just for it to be a thing where it's like, okay, cool, as opposed to it just being a thing and you just and it just like represent people naturally, you know? If that makes sense.
Then how do we?
Yeah.
How do we know? When you say naturally, how would I know what a natural black person, a natural Eritrean person? How?
I mean, in a way where you don't kind of like label it as something where it's done because you want it to be known that that's that thing. Like, you won't see people just kind of going out and being like, this white character is out here to just represent white people.
Yeah.
But it'll just be there.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so, if you have, I'm just using like
No,
as an example.
you're
but-
makes sense.
Yeah, but like if you have a movie where it's like a role where it can actually be a white male and you have a black woman doing it instead, as opposed to it being a thing where like this is only a thing because we want it to be a black woman thing.
Okay.
It's just a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
But then, in a way, that's kind of backwards because then, if you highlight it, some people get to see it more, and it allows people to just be represented more. And it's a good thing. So it's never really a negative thing, but it's kind of like just finding a fine line with it. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah. About
Would you like to add to that, young lady?
Sorry.
Would you like to add?
Um,
Oh, good one. Anybody else like to add to that? Come on, Ashley. Let me have it. Have she got the mic?
I do have the mic.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick up the last section of the question around how to navigate any negative impacts
Yeah.
that come
So
from.
how do we navigate ourselves through it?
Yeah, like this gentleman explained,
Yeah.
kind of stereotypical or intentional, or where the purpose isn't helping those that are being represented. So for me, I've worked with lots of different groups of people when it comes to accessibility within the world of disability. And I used to say, just get to know somebody that doesn't look like you. As many people in real life, you know, go and be in different spaces, go and experience different things. And, you know, the media is extremely important, I understand that, but almost try and think of the imagery and the creative input that we put into ourselves, like food. You know, I really started to cut out a lot of media from my life. A few years ago, I began to question whether I needed to watch another film where women had violence inflicted upon them. I know that story, I've seen it many times, we've grown up with it. Is it helping me? I don't know, I don't really think so anymore. And the more that I live, quote unquote, in real life with real people, the less that those, the healthier it is, for me, I find anyway. That's just my experience. And community, what we're doing this evening.
Yeah.
You know, thank you so much for creating this space, because it's spaces like this that we get to
No,
connect,
right, yeah.
communicate, explore, and see each other. So that's thank you.
Anybody else? I was told to get back, but they couldn't see me in the camera. I'm trying to hide from the camera. There's a face in it. Tell me what your name is. I really like to know. Your name is? Hello. Anybody else? I'm about making people talk. Welcome. Anybody else like to add to that one? It's a hard question for me. How important is representation? Is there a negative aspect to this? And if so, how do we navigate? Yes. Anybody else? Jaja, come on.
It's the question about representation of African, Caribbean, or
I suppose in anything. What do I work in childcare? Okay.
like representing?
Yeah. Now, if I worked in a nursery, I'd be so respected by the parents. But when I worked as a registered childminder, running the childcare business from my home with assistants, you know, staff, fabulous business. But yeah, oh, she's only a childminder. She's only a babysitter, but I'm doing the same thing as the lady in a nursery setting, but because I'm working from home, it's just looked at differently. You know, do you understand? You know, so it's represented in a really negative way. So the name childminder already is negative. You know, oh, she's just a babysitter. No, actually, I'm not a babysitter because I'm the manager of my own business. I'm self-employed. I have members of staff. You know, I'm making more money than the nursery. Do you understand? Yeah, it's.
So maybe it's education. Just finding ways to educate people.
Yeah. But sometimes we need to take time and ask, you know, questions, you know, about something that we see. You know, don't presume what you've seen or what you've heard is the truth. You know, don't go with that. Another example, when I started, children started school, and I keep using these as examples. Primary school, St Saviour's, you know, the headmistress already had an image of what a black mother should be like. And I said to her, my darling, you've never met a woman like me. Don't put me in that box. And we were best friends that day. Yeah, but she already knew, oh, black mum, no husband. No, I do have a partner, but I'm the one that does the school run. You're not going to see her. I'm not going to argue with you on the street. I'm going to smile and say hello and ask how you are. And in the end, you know, it took me. In fact, it took her to get to know me and what I was like, for her to understand that, oh, not all black people are like this. You know, there are different categories of them. Yeah, it is education. It's educating people. Yeah.
There's one.
One at the back.
Me again.
Come.
I was just, you know what? I think with whatever we're representing, because everyone's going to represent with different things.
Yeah.
I've seen, and I think, in general, I would say, whatever label or whatever thing you're representing, it's not the whole of who you are anyway. So I think when it goes to the point where you're like, this is who I am, is where it becomes negative, because it's not who you are. Without that, you're still you. Like,
But sometimes we find it hard to know who we are.
Yeah, because maybe we categorise ourselves. Like
that's
we go,
fine.
I
So
am
I was
a.
thinking like, okay, well we're as a creative, I'm represented as a childminder, as a whatever.
Yeah.
You're still, regardless of all of these things, you're still you.
Even as a creator, I mean, I'm looking at you as creative artists. Even in schools nowadays, parents or the curriculum does not want to encourage our children to be creative. You know, it's that do your English, do your maths, do your science. I want to draw. No, can't get a job. I said, but mummy, this is what I enjoy doing. Do you understand how we already, from when we're little, or how the system is training us what to be? You know, you can't be a creative person. There's no room to be creative. There's no room to think. This is what you must do already. So our creative side is being squashed and squeezed out of us. Anybody else?
Unfortunately, we're already labeled with the AME. We call it Black, Asian, and minority ethnic groups, as we are representing in this group, most of us. But it doesn't mean that we have to stick to what we've been labeled to. The representation is very important because it represents who we are. If you say Black, Asian, ethnic minority, even though the system labels us that way, it's very important to stay real to who we are. We came from a culture, religion, and foundation base, most of us, 99%. And even though the system that we're in, it would not allow us to practice and experience our true identity, it's our responsibility to stay real, develop our language. In this case, I want to thank you, Philly. Every Saturday, Philly and a few of our team, they teach these phonics, the letters that you see on his shirt. If you open that shirt for me, Philly, see that beautiful alphabet?
We'll show you later.
That shirt. Only about, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 African countries have their own alphabet, which we should be very proud of. And we're trying to teach our children every Saturday starting from 6 years old. If you call Hiyab for me.
Yeah, was how it is.
So why I'm saying this is it's very important, whichever background we come from, to educate these children is our responsibility. Currently, she's been doing this course for 1 year. She can write her name, her mom name, and she can hopefully next year she will be reading some poetic in our language. With this beautiful verse. So for this Christmas, we will be celebrating our traditional Christmas, which will have our own calendar. We don't follow the West calendar. Why I'm saying this is because our representation is very important no matter where we are. Let's not follow the system that was designed not for us. Unfortunately, we're raising our children in a system where it's not meant to be designed for us. But it's our responsibility to educate them. They have their own identity, their own language, and their own culture. And it's every parent's responsibility, of course, to represent who we are. The representation, I'm seeing it from a different angle, not from the creativity of the directors, the filmmakers, or the producers. I wish they stay focused and give the exposure of that true identity. I know it's difficult, of course, in budgeting, financing, support, production. It's a very mean industry. If you don't have the right connection, probably you might not be able to showcase what you want to showcase, because it might bring something that they don't want to see sometimes. We have African history or Black History Month in a month. How are we going to explain our history, our culture in a month?
It can't.
And unfortunately, in the curriculum here, it doesn't have any chapter, or probably they have a month's explanation. They don't go that far. It's not that just to bring what happened to the whole continent of Africa, but it's the reality, to give them the perspective, to understand how it was and where we are now and why we are where we are now. You know, we had the most sophisticated technology before the whole technology come about. So it's better we start from the scratch and educate everyone, but it still can do much better. How do we navigate? By education. As my sister says, that education is the most important thing. We can only win through education.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. But obviously, by sticking to the basic foundation of our true identity. So no matter who we are, we just have to be very proud of our identity and share and try to live in harmony without changing your true identity. That's what I will say. Thank you.
Anybody else? Before I move to the next step. I must admit, when I first came to this, because I was born here, and then my mother sent me home, because I'm from Ghana, and then she sent me home to Ghana, because you know, there was no aunties or uncles to help look after me, myself and my sister. Stayed there for about 7 years, and I came back, and the first thing she said to me when I got here, speak English, speak English. I went, you know, I could speak Tree, I could speak Ga, Bantu, 4 different languages going through on my head. But all this lady kept saying was, speak English, speak English, speak English. Can I speak my mother tongue? No. It's gone. You know, because my mum was like, no, you got to fit in. You're in England, you have to fit in. Drop the language, speak English. But now I know better. I'm trying to learn my language, but I'm struggling. So, you know, you're right. We have to hold on to our identity. You know, against that navigating, you know, navigate, push yourself out there. We matter. Look, as individual people, we're important. So if I bring a little bit of myself to the table, you bring a little bit of yourself, and this is how we get to know each other. Yeah. Okay? Right. Is my next performer ready? Monet. Can you please put your hands together for Monet? get up in the morning, what am I doing today? You know, just do it. So please, Monet, I love your voice. You've got to do it. And your last song, when she was singing it, I don't know about you lot, I closed my eyes and I could, you know, visualise myself being a little girl, and you know, and it was so nice because I can see myself, and I just thought, oh my gosh, you know, she's so right. We do need to give ourselves some praises now and then. No, but not now and then, all the time. Okay, people? Yeah. I have one more question for you all. Right, yeah. Think about your history. When I say your history, your family history, you know, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, that's our history. That's where we're coming from, okay? Yeah? So when I do things in life, I think about what my mum would do, how would mum do it, how would my grandma do it, and that's navigated me throughout my life. Raising my children, how did my grandma do it? How did my grandma raise me? And I take a little bit of her knowledge and I make it my own. The same with my mummy. So think about your own individual history. That's your past, okay? Because you won't be here without them. Sometimes to go forward, you need to go back to where you come from. When I say come from, not your country, you know, your family history, to know what path you're going. And I do that all the time. That's how I reflect. Right, here we go. Bear in mind reading, people. I had it on my lap just then, I've lost the page again. It says here, how can we as individual people navigate through our history to understand the future of our society without being consumed by the present? So how can we navigate through our history to understand our future of the society that we've been consumed by in our present? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah?
Interpret it as you like.
Okay, right. So as far as I'm concerned, I've got to think about it. So I'm going to break the question down so I can make you understand it. How are you people, or how's everybody in this room, how do you navigate yourself when you think about your family history, how your parents lived, how your grandparents lived, how your great-grandparents lived, how your whole family, your aunties and uncles lived, how, you know, in that past future? When you think about it, how are you going to, when you think, are you bringing it to the present and are you letting it consume you? Or do you take a little bit of it with you to help navigate you as you're currently living your day-to-day life? Don't answer that question yet, because I've got a surprise for you. I do. I'm going to introduce the next artist. His name is Teddy, and I would like you to put your hands together, okay? To big up Teddy. I'm not going to tell you what Teddy's going to do, but please, I'm going to ask it again, but I'm going to put myself in that question, okay? But you've got to, when I say I, put you as you yourself. Does that make sense? I'm making sense, like, so if I say we is, but I'm going to answer it like I'm asking me. Here I go, the performance of the night. How do I, Peppy, navigate through my own history to understand the future of my society, or of the society that I'm living in, without being consumed by my history and bringing it into the present? You know, when I go back into my own family history, to make myself understand where I'm coming from back then, do I make it consume me presently? Do I bring it with me? Is it good to bring it with me? Or do I just leave it back there and just, you know,
Is it kind of like asking, do you move with the times, or do you hold on to some of the culture that your history has?
yeah? But I always say, to know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from. A couple of years back, I went back from Ghana. I keep saying that. I went back home to Ghana. My mum is gone, died. May she rest in peace. My father's gone, and unfortunately, my parents didn't teach me much about where I came from. It's all about speak English, be white. So I went back home. I took my 3 girls with me and my granddaughter, and I went to my village where I grew up in, because I had memories of this red soil I needed to see. When I got to the village, I saw the red soil. I thought, God, this is where I came from. And I met all my cousins. They all knew me, but I didn't know them. So I sat with my auntie, which would be my father's sister, and I said, tell me who I am. And then, you know, knowing a little bit about my father, my grandmother, now I know who I am, you know, why I do things a certain way, where I get my inner strength from. Because I realised I came from a line of powerful women. I wasn't told it. I had to go back home to find that. Do I carry that with me right now, presently, every day? Hell yes, I do. My mum's gone, but when I'm stuck and I'm really struggling through my everyday life, I go to that cemetery and I talk to my mum. I talk to my grandma, and I mimic that. And that gets me through my life right now. I'm asking you lot, do you carry your history with you presently? And is it a bad thing?
I think the one thing I thought of when you first asked that question was holding on to some of the teachings, like the principles, the morals and values of the people in our history, like in our line of history. It was funny because I was actually soaping up some socks this morning to put in the washing machine, and I was like, who in my generation soaps up socks before putting them in the wash? We're not in the same generation, Tony. You do look good, but you know. And I was just thinking of like how we can bring certain teachings, because the question made me think of presently, and I feel like in the present generation, it's all very, you know, in the aesthetic and all very material, rather than like the core of things like, you know, cooking and eating together. Everything's quite fast paced, but I think giving space and time for those things which don't seem important anymore, especially like with city life, it's like bringing that back, and I think that's what can bring the positivity. Obviously that's not touching on the history and all the things, but it's like, it's part of history because it's part of the culture. So that was just my little point on that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on. I need to hear people talk to
I
me.
didn't have my hand up, I put it down.
Oh, babes, I didn't see you. You got to help me. I haven't got my glasses on.
But I put it down because I was like, I don't know if you answered the question before.
Hey, there's no right or wrong way.
Cool. Alright. Yeah, I guess like the first thing that kind of did come to mind at first would seem like it has absolutely nothing to do with what you said, but it's you are what you eat. So everything that you consume, like, is you basically. So your history, the culture that's around you right now, everything that you engage with is you. So it's definitely good to have your history with you, but then at the same time, the history is history, you know? And you don't want to forget where you are right now, because then it can help you a lot with, in fact, even helping like with your culture like to progress in some ways, just because there's just like, it can help it just evolve basically into something better or something different, something new. You never know if it's gonna be better already, but just like, I don't know.
No, you have. You said it, yeah.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, just help you to continue to learn and grow and just kind of find who you are, basically.
Because if you know who you are, your children are going to know where they're coming from.
Exactly.
You know, it's the line. You can't break that line. Back to the mic, yeah. Anybody else? Come on. Julie was going to say something. No. Yes, you was. You went like that. Yes, you did.
I might have just moved my hand.
No, you didn't. You went like that. Yeah, go on.
No, I'm good, sorry.
Liar.
I could help her out.
Oh, thank you. Don't be shy.
I'm going to answer your question in several ways, if that's okay.
That's fine. I'm going to sit down then. See you.
Let's talk scientifically to start with.
Oh, before you actually start speaking, tell me what your name is.
I really want to know.
Your name is?
Julius.
Hello, hello, hello. Have I missed anybody else out? All right, come on, Julius. Let me have it.
All right. Let's look at this scientifically. There's something that science talks about, which partially is, I find to be true, partially untrue. And it's the concept of evolution. I don't really support that. But there's a concept of it that I do support, which is the genetics. And I think the DNA is a DNA map. And that DNA map doesn't start with you. Two people came together and contributed to your DNA map. And those two people also came from another DNA map. And those DNA maps, when you look at them, that is who you are. And so if you don't know where your DNA map comes from, unfortunately, you can't see your DNA. So the only way you can really see what's in your DNA is by knowing the tree that you come from. Because that tree, a lot of them has a contribution. Your DNA map is made up of different people who have contributed to who you are. And that DNA determines the color of your eyes, the type of hair on your head, the personality that you have. And I remember when my, I'm also often with my parents have passed. Then I looked at it and I realized that actually you can bring them back. How do you bring your parents back? Get you and all your siblings in one room. If you and all your siblings are in one room, your parents are right there. Because they contribute to all the DNA in that room. And then you begin to find the traits that actually you see, oh, dad used to do that. Mom used to do that. And it even gets more interesting when you start having children. Because in most cases, if you study it, your children look like your siblings. And their children look like you. And you begin to see how this DNA is all mapped up. So to know who you are, to know what your DNA constitutes of, you need to know the tree you came from. Thank you.
I like that.
Aspect, but I'm on an interesting journey. So I'm mixed heritage. On my mum's side, I'm English and Welsh, and on my father's side, I'm Assyrian. And Assyrians are indigenous to the Iraqi landscape. We're quite an ancient civilization, and we don't speak Arabic, and we're not modern day Muslims, so we're quite a small minority anyway.
Right.
I learned a few years ago whilst I was watching a film that my great-great-grandfather on my mother's side was an archaeologist, and that he was or is responsible for 2/3 of the British Library's collection of Assyrian antiquities. So it's such a, the question, I'm in this space right now where I'm really trying to understand what it means to be the product of these two lines of history, and what it means, where's my responsibility when it comes to the heritage that's been stolen from half of my peoples, if that makes sense, and what I believe has led to so much of the conflict that we're seeing out there at the moment. This, in my mind, started with at the beginning of the 1900s, when a group of people from here and myself went over there and drew lines in the sand and created countries where they were territories before, where people lived kind of side by side and traded and what they were skillful at. Anyway, so I'm trying to not let it consume me. When I found out a few years ago, I was really taken aback and I was really angry. And tonight we talked about self-love, and I'm in this place where I'm like, well, what does that mean to love yourself when actually I've gone through a journey of not loving myself as well. And just unpacking that, it's really complex. And my father passed away when I was young, so, kind of echoing what you shared, like I haven't grown up being immersed in my heritage, but being very aware of the fact that I'm not from here, because people remind me of that when they're like, so I'm on a journey of looking at what does repatriation look like, what does reparations look like from big institutions. It's a really big piece of work. There are people doing that work at the moment. I'm really inspired by works that I'm looking at. People really sticking their neck out and holding big institutions accountable for their impact. And it's, you know, it's part of our right and our right to life and health as well, because when, again, we've talked about this evening, and love and being proud of ourselves and knowing where habits come from or behaviours and being proud of that. So slow steps, shwaya shwaya in Arabic, you know, slowly, slowly. But that we're all here, it's quite a unique position for me to be in. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling now because this question is quite poignant for me because I'm exploring it. But yeah, thank you so. Like tonight has just been so beautiful. Like everybody that's contributed. And your energy, Catherine, we love you. Your energy is amazing.
I'm going to say thank you. Thank you. I'm like, did you hear that? Barney!
Everyone loves Barney, no?
Barney! Barney the bear! The purple bear! Right, next question. Oh, I've got to go back to the camera. Next, come on, somebody else.
Actually, I'd like to put someone on the spot. The reason to why one of the reasons we've invited this group of people is because we have conversations, insights, collaborations, all of that. And we've written these questions as a result of those. There is one person who inspired that question, and we were having a discussion about our history, slavery, trauma, all of that stuff, the beauty of our culture, and all of that. And that's why it was written. The person that I was having that conversation with is a man JT right there. Now,
I don't remember.
If you'd like to have any, because it was quite a valuable discussion we were having, so I'd like to partially put the pressure on you, but also the pressure. So if you'd like to answer it, fair enough. If not, then
just people who ain't shy about showing you who they think you are. And then that's when you have to remind yourself of who I am really. And for me, reaching into my Haitian heritage and understanding the bravery and the courage it took to do some of the things they did back in those days. And and I take that with me. But at the same time, it's like you have to separate the trauma from that scenario and just kind of sieve it a little bit. So you take all the good things and then you sow that again and let that grow and you sieve it. You give it to the next generation. They remove our trauma and they sieve it. So the further we grow, the more we release trauma and we push growth. Thank you.
If you can just face away from the speakers so it doesn't make that
That's
sound. No, exactly
That's
this way.
If you face the wall,
Okay.
no.
Face
Sorry. Face back, please. Thank you.
Hi.
Okay, so my name is Mustafa. So on the topic of identity and culture and all that kind of stuff, to me as Mustafa, I've always always been like kind of an international kid. I traveled a lot of places, lived in a lot of places, and we have this thing called third culture kid, which means that you don't belong to the country you're born, but you also don't belong to the country you live in because of the amount of traveling you do. So me as Mustafa, I traveled a lot because of my father's job. I lived in UAE, I lived in Oman, I lived in Italy, I lived in the UK, I lived in Egypt a bit. But yeah, so but for me, like, I always have this feeling that I always want to go back to Egypt. I'm from Egypt, yeah. So I always want to go back to Egypt and live there. I lived there for 3 years only. I mean, I lived here 6-7 years here in the UK, but yeah. I don't know why.
But
It's
you
just a
class
feeling.
Egypt as your home?
Yeah, I have this feeling that Egypt is my home. I don't know why, but
It could be the DNA.
even though that I lived in the UK, I lived in the United Arab Emirates, I lived in other countries more than I lived in Egypt. So I don't know, but it's very important to always, you know, relate to your background, your true identity, and just explore, know your history, know everything, and just make everybody happy and, you know, belong to one another.
No, that's so
And
true.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, free Palestine.
Anybody else? Come stand over here, Mike. We can't see you.
Okay.
You're hiding behind the speakers.
I'm of Italian heritage, so.
No.
Oh, I know. It's not Caribbean or African.
No.
But I'm proud. I think part of looking at the history and into the future is seeing the two sides of it, a bit like humans, you know. There's some beautiful parts of it. There's some not so beautiful parts of it. We were also a colonial country. Colonial. Yeah. And we also have, we're a very fertile land full of musical language, and so like our parents and our grandparents and ourselves, we have to accept us for who we are, and also this is how I see it, and understand where we can learn and where we have strengths. So Italy, in my opinion, has many places where it can learn. One would be definitely race in general. It's a racist country fundamentally, but it also doesn't mean that Italy needs to hold that title forever. And I hope, I was born here, but I hope in the future we will be able to hold ourselves accountable and shift our perspective. And I think ignorance is like one of the biggest daggers, you know. If people aren't educated, then they cause danger. Even the ones that are educated like to cause danger, but I think
miseducated.
Yeah, this
miseducated.
There you go. Ignorance comes from ignorare, to ignore. So we need to be able to hold ourselves accountable and not ignore different realities, and learn how to build a community beyond beyond ourselves, being self-centered and egoistic. There we go.
One thing, so every time I get the mic, I'm like, oh, my voice. Just based on the comments that were said from Sarah, did you say Mustafa? It was Mustafa, yeah. Because, like, maybe a question for the next event, because I would love to, like, hear discussions on this. So me being mixed heritage, I've never felt like I look at my mum, she doesn't look like me. I look at my dad, I don't look like him. So I feel like I'd love to hear the voices of mixed people, like even Sarah Joy was saying. But like, where do we fit in? Where do we identify? Because my mum being Italian, whenever I went to Italy, like a lot of people thought I was adopted, or am I being sold? Or there was just like a lot of different things going on. But I've never also experienced like my Caribbean culture. I've never lived in the Caribbean. I've only lived here. So I'm just curious to hear like the discussion around what it's like to be mixed, because it just feels very much like, where do I fit in?
Yeah, that's so true. So true. So true. Okay, that's the next project. everybody's.
You can feel it, like the energy,
The energy in
room.
this room is so fabulous. It's lovely. It's powerful. So you need to tell yourself you are important. Are you feeling me?
Yeah.
Are you feeling me?
Yeah.
What did I say? You are
important.
You are
important.
So you've got to say I am important. Come on, 1, 2, 3. I am important. Every single day. And if someone gives you a praise, what do you say?
Thank you.